In my social cognition lab, we study dehumanization, which is the tendency that we have to see other people who we don't identify with as less human than we see ourselves. From a psychological perspective, we define dehumanization on one of two dimensions. The first is animalistic dehumanization. And with animalistic dehumanization, we tend to see other people as less human than ourselves in the ways that we see them as less evolved than we see ourselves, or having fewer complex cognitive traits and abilities than we do. This might manifest in thinking of other people as less rational than we are, or having less logic than we do, or maybe even placing less importance on high-level needs like purpose and self-actualization. The other form of dehumanization is mechanistic dehumanization. And here we're thinking of people not as non-human animals, but rather like machines. And just like this robot, when we mechanistically dehumanize somebody, we tend to see them as having fewer emotional traits than we have ourselves, especially lesser abilities to experience complex secondary emotions like fulfillment or embarrassment, but also maybe even less able to express things like compassion or warmth. Now, both animalistic and mechanistic dehumanization have implications for the way that we treat other people, but most groups tend to be dehumanized on one dimension or the other. Individuals experiencing homelessness, however, tend to be dehumanized on both dimensions. So given they're a uniquely and doubly dehumanized group, one of the questions my research lab asks is, which form of dehumanization matters the most when trying to understand how people are going to treat individuals experiencing homelessness? A recent paper published in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology with 3 of my undergraduate students has determined that animalistic dehumanization is actually a stronger predictor of willingness to help, as well as tendencies to avoid individuals experiencing homelessness. Importantly, however, this is only true for a certain group of folks, and that's for people who really care about social justice. If you have strong social justice motivations, then dehumanization matters. Low dehumanization is going to predict high willingness to help, and high dehumanization is going to predict low willingness to help. But if you don't care about social justice motivations, it doesn't matter how much you dehumanize individuals experiencing homelessness. You're going to actively avoid them and be unwilling to help them in any situation, regardless of how much you dehumanize them. And so knowing this, my lab is moving forward to try to understand how can we cultivate both things. It seems that both are important. How much we dehumanize somebody, but also how much we care about social justice motivations. And we really need to emphasize that social justice motivation piece, because if we don't care about social justice first, then dehumanization doesn't matter. So in the future, my lab is going to be asking questions about how we can cultivate social justice in hopes that reductions of dehumanization will actually impact the ways that we treat individuals experiencing homelessness, making us more likely to help them and less likely to avoid them.